How was your night, Pop?
It was all right. This video is brought to you by So you may be wondering, why is it so dark? Well, I guess you could say it's somewhat of a metaphor. And to keep this as brief as damn possible, I'm making some self-realizations this week, and this video is essentially a benchmark for, first of all, myself, because lest we forget that one of my motivations for doing this channel was to watch my own growth and be able to have benchmarks like this to look back on. But hopefully, more importantly, to give a lesson to those that either have expressed that they look up to me, or in the future perhaps will look up to me, could look up to me. Hopefully this can serve you well in some way. Now, to put it bluntly, this week has been the ultimate mental roller coaster, which I will say, right or wrong, prior to this chapter of my life, I've prided myself on never having that kind of experience and feeling sympathy for those that have expressed that they do, and even worse, that it sometimes affects their livelihoods and their quality of life. To go a little meta on that, I would say part of the highs and lows of this particular week have to do with the fact that as of tonight especially, it's become very concretely obvious to me how much I actually overthink about things, which also translates into a few of my behaviors. And while I should definitely say that it's been an advantage for me in getting me this far in life, which I'm very thankful for, I also have realized, and I guess that's one of the peaks, I also have realized as one of the lows, especially as of today, although it's been kind of a slow process throughout the past year and a half or so, that one of the lows relates in the same thing, and that is how much of a weakness overthinking can be. So, to segue into this relevant theme of darkness, I just have to say that it's been actually kind of liberating, given the content I've experimented with this week, some of the ideas I've had, and some of the conversations I've had with people that have led me to get to this state today, is I've become significantly more self-aware of how much my overthinking and over actions, mainly being over talking, has held me back in several facets of my life, including the delivery of messages, entertainment, education, edumacation, you name it, day, all that ish has been affected. And part of what made it such an impactful realization today was the overwhelming sensation of it not only being a factor there, but that also being just a representation of how it's affected my whole life. And again, there have been some positives to that, but now seeing the negatives of that, it's allowed to take that low and bring it back to a high, in the sense that I can now use that realization, take that sort of pain that comes with realizing that shortcoming, and be able to now work on that and tackle that so that I can improve in my own life, and as an extension of that, make my content evolve and continue to improve, as I've always had an intention to, both, again, in life and other facets of it. So again, this is just to kind of not only drive that point home and share that with you, but and my future self when he finally watches this again, if he's ever in need of, seeing this, to make this relevant. Basically what I'm saying is I think this is going to be a very big step for me moving forward, which I'm pretty excited about, but it's also not lost on me that there's a lot of work to do. But being the optimist I am glad that I recognize that identifying the problem is obviously a great first step and makes it much easier for me to tackle, especially with the examples that people have given me this week that have helped solidify that as a significant problem. And you've started to see hints of that in some of my latest content, where I've just started to become a little bit more free-flowing, a little bit more loose and liberal with my language and quirks and, buffoonery, which just goes to show that, being an individual, being yourself, all those cliches really do have a role within the right context. So along those lines, again, to answer the question of the darkness, I think there was a time not too long ago where I would not be comfortable recording this video, let alone putting it out. But it feels so good to know that I don't have that care anymore, so that not only can I share this message, which I feel is important, whether you guys do or not, which is also a component, but secondly, there was a lot of times where I had a lot of either frustrations or emotions or thoughts or, purely educational type things, whether it was whether it was related to fashion, medicine, advice, shoes specifically, whatever, that emotionally drained me simply from the standpoint of seeing how excited I would get about such things, but then the emotional drain and frustration and pain and anger sometimes of having that handicap basically of overthinking it and overanalyzing it and applying the insecurities to become very let down by myself for thinking that it wasn't good enough to share because I couldn't get it done perfectly. And again, some of my friends have actually been very instrumental in not only communicating that to me finally in a way that it finally clicked, but also giving me specific concrete examples, because that's just how I work, and helping me kind of digest it for my own brain better so that I can actually really have an epiphany with it and extend that into actions that I plan to do. So you start to see some hints of that. And while it's very true that the overthinking and everything else that I've mentioned has led to a lot of my successes and can be seen as a strength, I am more than happy to admit that it's also a shortcoming. And as an extension of that, what I've learned from successful people over and over and over again is those that evolve and continue to change and adapt to the world and get rid of bad habits and improve on good habits are the ones that are truly successful. So this is, I think, is just a perfect example of something that, even though I've seen it as a strength, I shouldn't use that as an excuse to keep doing it. I should find a way to evolve it to a place where I can use it as a strength while reducing its weakness. And that's not an easy thing. I'm not assuming it's going to be an easy thing. And I guess the perfect ending here is the sudden thought I just had, which was, you know what? I'm not even going to cut that part out, because that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you guys. I'm becoming more comfortable with the mistakes, and I just had this epiphany as well that in the theme of all this, there was a time where I would have been overwhelmed because of where the overthinking would have gone in my brain to not let this be something I want to work on. But I'm so happy that I've caught that in my brain and was ready to just, nope, not going to go there. And I think that's going to be a lot more productive, which will ideally, the way I see it in my optimism, translate into a continued success in my life. And hopefully that will translate to you guys as well, and you will get that message as well. So I'm going to just leave it there very happily. I got to admit, a lot of these videos, at both the finishing of filming or during the editing or well after the editing, I've been very just disgusted and not happy or proud of my work or my execution or my content creation. But just so many things this week, culminating in today, have led me to be a lot more comfortable with that stuff. Not just a single day, but multiple days now. And finally with today leading to this video. And again, that's why it's in less than ideal conditions. But what the fuck is ideal conditions? Am I right? This is my channel. I do it my way. No one's telling me what to do. That's the whole reason that's the whole reason I pursued this in the first place, was to be myself. And as I continue to feel these layers of insecurities fall off and off and off, and not only that, see, it's actually translating positively from a viewership perspective. It's just the perfect recipe. And I'm hoping that just in and of itself gives me additional confidence in the confidence I now possess to move on into a new stage. But I was overthinking again. I'm going to stop it. Actually, yeah, this is it. We're done here. Bye. Peace. Holy crap, you just witnessed me actually demonstrating, me already starting to not only recognize, but actually do something about what this whole thing was about. So, yes! I love you guys so much. Did he just use the L word? Come at me, bro.